Hey guys, welcome back to Storytime with Mr. Isaiah. Hope you're all doing well. We are reading Sink or Swim, and we are starting chapter 6 today. So if you haven't already, please remember to subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and don't forget to say hey in the comments below. Without further ado, let's just jump right into chapter 6. At first, everybody crowded around me in a circle, and I was so nervous I couldn't speak. I fumbled with my line, and when I opened my mouth, no words came out. Well, get on with it, a guy named Tony Spinelli barked. He had a New Jersey accent. I just hoped he didn't have a New Jersey temper, too. Okay, I finally managed to squeak. I held my line up in front of me, made a small loop, and then demonstrated. You take this end and run it through here and around here and back through here, and then you pull it here and can't you hear? Somebody said. Speak up. Somebody else added. We'll be here all night if you don't speak up. I tried again, but still couldn't seem to make myself heard over the guys stamping their feet on the frozen ground to keep the feeling in their toes. Plus, I kept stuttering. What the heck's wrong with him? Spinelli yelled. I can't hear nothing. Chief's gonna make us stand out here forever waiting on this idiot. Hey, a familiar voice responded. Don't call him that. He's doing the best he can. Just give him a second. It was the big guy from before who had grabbed my arm and told me he wouldn't want to see me trampled. The one who'd called me a boy and who I'd scowled at and who'd laughed at me. He stepped up beside me and put his hand on my shoulder. It's okay, little buddy. I saw you tie that knot in a minute ago. All you gotta do is take it easy and explain it to the rest of us. He held up his line to show me he was ready. Woody sort of inched up closer to us as well. He didn't say anything, but I appreciated that he was willing to stand by me, or at least kind of near. Go on then, the big guy said. You can do it. I didn't know why he was being so nice to me, but I appreciated it so much that I took his line and quickly tied a bowline for him. There, I said, like that. Okay, the big guy said, taking back his line and studying the knot. Only now you have to explain it so we can all do it. I glanced up at him and nodded, then looked nervously around. A couple of guys were attempting with their lines, but already looked hopeless trying to follow along. One of them threw his on the ground and stomped on it. Spinelli scowled at me, a real scowl, not like the one that didn't work when I tried to do it. His made me even more nervous. But the big guy tapped me on the shoulder, and that brought me back to what I was supposed to be doing. Maybe if you teach it to us the way it got taught to you, that'd be the way to do it, he said. And I realized that was the answer. Dad had his special way of teaching the bowline, and I remembered it as clear as anything. It had worked for me when I was 3 years old, so it ought to work for grown men, or nearly grown men anyway. Okay, I said, starting over with my small loop and fighting to make my voice louder and not stutter. This is the bunny hole. Everybody started laughing. Are you freaking kidding me? Spinelli howled. A bunny hole? The big guy turned to Spinelli and told him to just keep quiet and let me finish. Spinelli actually growled at him. I guess you could just call it a rabbit hole instead, I said. How about a hare? Somebody drawled in a thick southern accent. Ain't that another name for a bunny too? Hare today, gone tomorrow. Somebody else chimed in. Everybody groaned when he said that. Anyway, I said, actually gaining a little confidence now that I'd started. Bunny hole, rabbit hole, doesn't matter what you call it. This short end of your line is the bunny, and you start off holding it behind the hole. So what you do after this is your bunny comes out of the hole, goes around the tree, then goes back in the hole. Pull it tight, and there's your bowline. The guys laughed some more, and then they made me tell it to them again, and show them again. One more time, said Spinelli, who didn't sound mad anymore. At least he wasn't growling. Okay, I said, and I went through the bunny story a third time, and then they all tried it. Half got it on the first try, and just about the whole other half got it on the second. I couldn't believe it. Woody was the last to get it. But finally, even he did as well, with those two guys punching on his arms the whole time. The big guy patted me on the back, so hard he nearly knocked me down. I knew you could do it, he said, reaching out to shake my hand. Woody was standing right next to me now, too. I knew you could do it, Danny, he said. Thanks, I sort of mumbled, even though I doubted that was true. The big guy introduced himself. He said his name was Joseph Straub, and I told him who I was and who Woody was, and he said, well, nice to meet you, Danny. Now, how about those other knots? 'Cause it's getting mighty cold out here, and there's a bunch more to go. More bunny holes and such you can tell us about? No bunny holes, I said, but there are some other tricks my dad taught me. Let's hear 'em then, he said, and so we got back to work. Once they had the bowline down, it didn't take very long at all for me to teach them the other knots Chief wanted us to learn. Using Dad's knot stories from when I was little, even Woody, with his problem knowing his right from his left, figured it out. And once we showed Chief we'd mastered them, he let all the guys head over to the mess hall to be first in line for evening chow. He held me back, though. I'm not in the habit of giving out compliments, Boot, he said, and if you tell anybody what I'm about to say, I'll deny saying it, and you'll be out of here doing drills by yourself and on the grinder all night long, understood? I nodded. Understood, Chief. I wasn't stuttering, but my voice was back to being kind and shaky. All right then, he said. I don't know how old you are. Or you aren't, and quite frankly, I don't care. I wouldn't bet on you being a day over 14, but again, I don't care. The Navy needs men, the war needs men, and those men need to know how to tie proper knots, and at least 100 of them now do, thanks to you. So good job. Thank you, Chief, I said. So what'll it be, he asked. I was confused. What do you mean, Chief? I told you if you could teach those numbskulls how to tie knots, you'd get your pick of assignments. We have 5 more weeks of boot camp, but no reason not to say now. So what'll it be? Desk job? Signal Corps? Sub chaser? I said, without even hesitating, the shakiness gone. I want to be a sub chaser. Chief studied my face for a minute as if he was looking for a clue to something. Then he said, how come a sub chaser? I couldn't tell him, but he guessed, of course. U-boat got somebody you know. I nodded. Somebody in your family over there off the Outer Banks? I nodded again and felt the tears welling up behind my eyes. I couldn't speak, or I knew I'd start crying, thinking about Danny, and I didn't want Chief to ever see me doing that. He looked around, saw that there wasn't anybody else out on the grind except Straub and Woody, who were waiting for me about 20 yards away in the direction of the mess hall, and put his hand on my shoulder. I'll see what I can do to make it happen, he said, and then he dismissed me to go to mess hall. I noticed he stayed out on the grinder by himself for a pretty long time, and it made me wonder if maybe a U-boat hadn't gotten somebody he knew too. If I thought Chief was going to go easy on me after that, or on the company, boy was I ever wrong. A couple of nights later he woke us up again, banging on a trash can lid and yelling at us to move it, move it, move it. It was Spinelli's turn to be stupid, but it's 3 o'clock in the morning. Do we have to? He was still in his skivvies when he said it, and that was as far as he got getting dressed because Chief blasted him. "It's not your mommy asking you, it's me, and I'm telling you. And now you get 50 push-ups first." So as the rest of us pulled on our uniforms and peacoats, there was poor Spinelli in his underwear struggling through his push-ups, and with Chief's boot on his rear end. I almost felt sorry for him, but mostly I was just glad it wasn't me again. But then I remembered how much I appreciated Straub and Woody standing up for me or with me when I was trying to teach everybody to tie the knots. And I decided I would hang back and wait for Spinelli, even though he was the guy giving me the hardest time about the knots. "Those push-ups ought to be illegal so early in the morning," I said to him once he'd gotten dressed and we hustled to catch up to the rest of the company, which had already left the barracks. "Oh, I can handle it," Spinelli said. "Ain't nobody soft that's from Jersey." "Sure," I said, "but still lousy when it's you that's having to do them." "You're right about that," he said. "Teach me not to open my big fat mouth." I laughed, and he did too. Then we picked up the pace to catch up with the others. "Hey, thanks for waiting for me," Spinelli said. I just wish we'd had time to go to the head." I said. Spinelli suggested I try peeing while running, but I didn't think that was such a good idea. Maybe it was something that they did in Jersey. I made a note to ask him about it later on when I wasn't out of breath. And that's the end of chapter 6, so let's go ahead and stop there. Guys, if you are enjoying the story, make sure you let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss a thing. I love you so much, and I hope you're doing great, that you're healthy and whole, and that you're watching the videos. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.